County Commission back in session. Franklin County Commission back in session. Next on the agenda will be Ms. Ginger Coulter, Sheriff Finance Director.
Good morning, Commissioners. I have a little handout for you. Michael, I'm sorry, I should have given this to you earlier. I'm here this morning to ask to amend our budget for this fiscal year that we're still on for our FEMA reimbursement. We did get our FEMA reimbursement back for Hurricane Michael, and also our body-worn camera grant. It was put in the budget, but I didn't put the dollars in the budget because I wasn't sure if the approval would come through, but it did come through, and we're getting ready to wrap that grant up. So that's what I'm here for this morning, if you have any questions.
Thank you.
Just a,
Your pen's almost out of ink. Sorry.
that's the dollar amount here.
Yes, sir. The FEMA reimbursement was the $237,824.36, and the body worn cam grant is $81,000, which would give us an amended grant total of $59,81,942.36. Of course, not all of that was a county transfer, but that's what the total overall budget would be with the grants and everything included in that.
Okay.
Mr.
Pleasure
Chairman.
to vote. Yeah, go ahead.
You're saying that is for this fiscal year or the upcoming fiscal year?
This fiscal year, Hurricane Michael.
Okay, my question is was all these FEMA related?
The 237 is what we've got reimbursed from FEMA for our hurricane expenses, for overtime, for fuel, for vehicle expenses. We got our FEMA reimbursement back very, very quickly.
Okay, my question to Aaron, did they pay all this out of it?
They did.
So the county put nothing up?
No, this is all ours.
Okay, and all these expenditures here, some of these expenditures you made,
Yes, some of them, like for instance, the 19,000, we did have assistance with the FEMA grant because it was such a large scale grant. We had someone help us with this, write this grant, and that was their fee, so we've included that in there. The generator, I let y'all know about that a few weeks ago. The generator, we had actually discussed at the last time I was here, it did need repairing, so we went ahead and repaired that. So yes, that's what it is.
so this top is not only what you expended, but
Right.
improvements you're gonna use this money to make.
Exactly, exactly. With the exception of the main AC unit, I had that in there, but yesterday afternoon when I started to leave, I got a new quote. The new quote is for $16,500, and the soonest they can do it is in October. And right now, our air conditioner is still holding on, so we're trying to eke that out as long as we can. So we want to use that instead towards the paving of the parking lot, the repaving, and also the inmate medical, because we have, of course, went over on inmate medical again. But on that note, I'm very, very proud of how far we've come with the inmate medical. I think it's worth noting here, we've saved over a couple of $100,000 this year on the inmate medical. We've got a few weeks left, so I don't want to say too much and, be snared by the words of my mouth, so to speak, but we've done exceptionally well. Right now, we're only about 10 to 15,000 over on the inmate medical, where in times past, we've been significantly over. So we've done very, very well with that this year. So that will absorb some of that, yes. Y'all knock with me.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Ginger, are you
Yes.
saying that the county has contributed less money relative to the grant money you've received? Is that what this means?
The county, if you look at what I've made on the notation, the county funding remains the same at $53,57,981. That's what we got from the county. That was the county transfer
Okay.
for the, I guess, the ad valorem portion. This that I'm asking for is not from the county. This is reimbursement from grants.
So y'all spent this and y'all gonna put it It go back.
This is money from Hurricane Michael that we had to expend out. So there were things that we couldn't buy and hires we couldn't hire because we expended all of this money in October at the very front of our fiscal year. We just got the money back, just a few weeks ago. So it's to reimburse us for all that money that we spent out.
So we didn't have any out-of-pocket expenses because we got
The
made
county
whole.
didn't, we did. The sheriff's office did, but the county didn't. It came out of our budget that you gave us.
Mr. Chairman,
That's good. Yeah,
I want to ask a question for you. Ginger, some of these items are items that are still yet to be purchased, correct?
Correct, yes.
The radios? speed
Radios,
Limit signs? Okay.
And those are just some of the items that, with the reimbursement, we want to use, yes.
Okay.
Correct.
pleasure to vote.
Hold on.
If I could, look, Ginger, and you're gonna help me
Sure.
with my memory here, as bad as it is. Is any of this, the last budget cycle, 18, 19, when we had some capital projects that we agreed to do over a number of years? Any of these address any of those
The
projects?
phone system was, and the AC unit, but the AC unit, we eked out another year, so we didn't have to replace that. We're trying to use that as long as we can
Okay.
without having to replace it.
Yeah.
The phone system, the county did, but there was an additional, like $5,000 or $6,000. I think Aaron and I had discussed that, because y'all capped off at 40, so we were responsible for the remaining balance. There was another piece of equipment that we had to purchase.
Okay.
So that's in there as well.
So I guess,
But the phones were put in this fiscal year.
so I guess sometime this month, I need to sit with you so we can kind of readdress the capital projects and see where we really are and what needs to be addressed.
Yeah, because I'm not sure what the sheriff, he may have changed his priority. I haven't really discussed that with him,
I
but,
can understand that. Yeah. Okay, I just wanted to bring that up, especially for the board's attention, that we still have those projects out there hanging. So I'll get with Ginger and we'll figure out, what the new list and priorities are
Okay.
from the sheriff, and I'll report back to the board on that.
You ready? Pleasure to vote.
Yeah.
Got a motion on the floor by Commissioner Master.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Parrish. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passed
thank you,
unanimously.
commissioners. Have a great day.
You too, Ginger.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Next on the agenda will be vote of adjustment. Just a second, going to get Ms. Keller, Ms. Amy Keller.
You want me to start talking to mine?
You can.
You want to do part of my report while we're waiting?
Yeah. By the way.
For the rest of it, I'll be honest with you, commissioners, we have one action item, but otherwise it's just narrative. So my report is item number 1, board action to accept the recommendation from Clay Kennedy, Dewberry Engineers to award Anderson Columbia the bid for the reconstruction of Alligator Drive for $4.7 million. Dewberry Engineers has evaluated all the bids and determined that Anderson Columbia is the qualified respondent with the lowest bid. The board action should be to award the bid, but not to issue a notice of receipt until the county receives confirmation from FEMA on the scope of work and the proposed bid. So board action to award the bid, but not notice of receipt.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion on the floor by Commissioner Parrish, second by Commissioner Jones. That's that company what done over there, took so long to fix between the bridges, huh?
Amen.
I don't know, but all I can tell you is they were a little bitter, and that's the way it goes.
Yep. Substantial.
Yeah, but
But this contract, unlike the state's contract, this contract has a 150 days, 150-day.
it got a limit on it.
Yes, yes.
But I went across there yesterday, and that, between the east front and between the first field, where they fixed it, that thing getting a dip in it already. You can see it, it's
The whole
dip.
roadway.
Yep.
Yeah, it's getting a dip in it, but,
I mean, we've done this contract, I will say, that some of the other bidders were actually, they were all sharing some components, so either Anderson Columbia is the general on it, some of the other bidders were all using the same components, so it's not that Anderson's doing the whole thing. I mean, they're in charge of it, but they're using, some of the pile driving were being done by the same subs on all the different vendors. So I think we're gonna get a good job out there. I won't mislead you, though, that they have 150 days, but we don't know when that 150-day clock's gonna start, because I'll go to item number 2. Update on FEMA review of Alligator Drive.
I know, we got to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That passed unanimously.
Okay, item number 2, update on FEMA review of Alligator Drive project. As the board and the public is aware, Alligator Drive has not been fully repaired since it was damaged in 2016 by Hurricane Hermine. The board, using its own funds, has improved the road so that it is a 2-lane asphalt road, but those repairs are temporary. After Hurricane Michael, the state of Florida assigned one of its consultants, FCMC, to assist the county in getting the road rebuilt. FCMC has been instrumental in keeping rotating FEMA personnel and other federal and state agencies on task to move the Alligator Drive reconstruction through the regulatory process. But even FCMC does not have the authority to waive or short-circuit any of the federal or state agency regulations or requirements. At this time, FCMC has assisted the county in putting together an extensive scope of work for Alligator Drive reconstruction that has been submitted to FEMA. The scope of work is some 195 pages and was submitted to the board in an electronic file at the August 20th meeting. Mr. Morone brought it up. FEMA is still reviewing the scope of work. As FEMA, and this is a very critical thing for you all and the public to understand, as FEMA has vacillated between authorizing reconstruction as one project or as 2 projects divided between damage done by Hurricane Hermine and Hurricane Michael. FCMC and I strenuously oppose the dividing the reconstruction, and so did Dewberry, dividing the reconstruction into 2 projects because it would be an administrative nightmare trying to assign costs from 2 different FEMA projects to repair one road. I mean, when we got the call from Atlanta about a month ago, and they said, well, we still think it needs to be done 2 projects. We said, you've got to be kidding. You don't, it just blew my mind. So that's one of the things that FCMC helped put together, 195 pages defending and justifying why it is one project. It's one road. Commissioner, I'm going to get anyway, so FEMA will now be sent the information regarding the low bid, and hopefully that will spur them on to make a decision regarding the project. As the board is aware and the public is aware, without FEMA funding, there are not going to be any additional repairs done to Alligator Drive. I mean, that FEMA funding is the key, and it's now almost 2020. All right, so that's item number 2.
You figured it out?
Item number 3, if I can go to briefly, I know, because then I'm done. Item number 3, update on the DEO funds allocated to Franklin County by the legislature for damages costs associated with Hurricane Michael. As the board may recall, DEO, and that stands for Department of Economic Opportunity, received $750,000 from the legislature for Franklin County. The funds are intended to be used to provide a local match for FEMA projects, but could be used for other Hurricane Michael costs. And I think a while ago we talked about trying to do the armory, but now we've discounted that because we got the USDA funding. So, sorry. So I recommend the board inform Ms. Beth Frost, DEO contact for this county, that we would like to allocate $600,000 of the funds as a potential match for the Alligator Drive reconstruction. And I say parenthetically, the Ballpoint Trust Fund does not contain enough funds to cover the expected match. The $600,000 represents the expected local match of 12.5% of $4.7 million. The remaining funds could be allocated as other FEMA projects are identified, such as Island View reconstruction or C-30 work or whatever other FEMA projects we finally get approved. But commissioners, I will say this, it's possible that the 12.5% becomes 5%, so you might have more money, but we don't know that. We haven't seen it in writing. The president has, since Hurricane Michael became a Category 5 storm on paper, the president has the authority to change the 12.5% to 5%. I think he said he was going to do it, but I don't know that he's done it, and I know the state of Florida has obligated it, because if they change that percentage, the cost isn't borne by the federal government, the cost is borne by the state government. So the state has to agree to it. So I have to hold the 12.5% match as our requirement until I'm told otherwise.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, go ahead.
real quick, Alan, are we pretty positive that the $600,000 will be enough for the local match?
Well, it's 12.5% of 4.7 is $600,000.
Okay.
So as long as the construction costs don't go up.
So you recommend the board inform Ms. Beth Frost that we intend to use
Yes.
$600,000?
Yes.
Whether it will take more or less
Yes.
remains to be seen.
Yeah, and what I appreciate the clarification, Commissioner, because what I would say is that's going to be our scope of work. Will have at this time one project, and that'll be this project. And when we get it done, and it's 600,000, we're good. If it's 620, then we'll modify other scopes. Yes.
Okay. I just want to clarify that,
Yes.
if we need more or less,
Yes,
and we're able
that's
to.
correct.
So I would word the verbiage to be used would be intend to.
Yes.
and we may take more, may take less, but just inform them with our intent.
Yes.
Mr. Pierce, when are they gonna start the East Point Channel? You have any idea?
No, in fact, when I got in town, I saw Commissioner Jones in the grocery store and asked that he heard anything. And the answer is, I have not heard anything, but we are having, associated with East Point Channel, of course, it's 2 Mile Channel, and we're meeting with the ARPC Friday, Commissioner Parrish and I, to try and get them started, and hopefully we'll get some updates. But the answer is, I have not heard a word. Let me ask you, did they come down and do the core borings back in June or
Yes, they
July?
did. Yeah, when they met with us in June,
Okay,
made sure and talked with some of the people that still have businesses on the channel.
okay.
That are there at the waterfront, and they said that they did return like they said they were gonna do. They were doing the
Core borings, right.
borings to make sure how much material they're estimating, and they're supposed to be doing the finalization of the estimates of what's gonna fill the permitted area, the 26 acres they have permitted. And then they're gonna come back to us, the county, and discuss, they can do the whole thing at the original depth. You know, part of it's gonna have to be 2 foot shallower, what they have to do, how much is gonna fit. So we're waiting on that to come back.
Okay.
Well, the Commissioner said, we were told in June that they
Yes.
would be here in August,
Yes.
and they, of course, didn't make it, and now it's September.
Right.
I'm hoping that shortly we will hear, because the good news is, no big storm hit the United States. They haven't had any big problems yet.
Well, I seen a truck over Friday afternoon, laid a core truck sitting right there,
Okay.
looking out the channel. They was looking, just sitting there on the side. That's the reason I was asking. He was just sitting there looking.
Well, he was there for a reason. We
Yeah.
don't know why. As Commissioner Jones said, we want to see that flag.
Yeah.
That they started, yeah, that'd be good.
And let me, Mr. Chairman, if I might, let me add that I'm meeting with, myself and Alan are meeting with ARPC because they're supposed to be the administrator for the county over these consortium funds. And we need to get consortium funds allocated so that we can straighten out the spoil site out here at 2 Mile and get that berm redone and get all that going. So the plan is, and as the board has spoke before, is while the dredge is in town and doing the East Point Channel, when they do that, if we can get everything done, they'll immediately move over to 2 Mile and do this channel here.
Right.
So we're trying to get all this stuff to work together so that we don't have to pay additional funds to have the dredge come back. We can do it while the dredge is in the county.
While they all here at the
So
same
that's what
time.
we're meeting with ARPC with, because like today, there's a consortium meeting. I can't attend on behalf of the county because we got a board meeting this morning, a public hearing this evening. So ARPC is over there representing Franklin County at the consortium meeting as we speak.
Actually, it's an executive board meeting, so it wasn't a full meeting. That's the good news.
Okay,
Yeah.
so anyways, that's where that's going. Back to item number 3, so moved.
Second.
Got a motion on the floor by Commissioner Parrish, second by Commissioner Jones and Commissioner Master. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That pass unanimous.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I've done my report then.
Okay, next on the agenda will be Miss Amy. Miss Amy Ham Keller. Be the Board of Adjustment first.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I did have to add one thing to my Board of Adjustment. It was on the Board of Adjustment agenda, and it was approved unanimous. It just did not make it on the agenda for Lori's report. So I did add that. And I put that as the first one. There is a recommendation for approval. It was unanimous. Consideration of a request for a special exception in the A1 Forestry District. Number 2, public utility, telecommunication buildings or towers, to place a 350-foot self-supported cell tower on property line in Section 30, Township 6 South, Range 7 West, also described as 131 Gadsden Drive, north of East Point, Franklin County, Florida. Request submitted by Bruce Wayne, agent for Walter Armstead, applicant. They already have their FAA approvals and everything. They're ready to be permitted.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion on the floor by Commissioner Parrish, second by Commissioner Master. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That pass unanimous.
Okay, number 2, we have a recommendation for approval. It was unanimous. Consideration of a request for a 10-foot variance into the front setback and 5 feet into both side setbacks on property lying in Section 31, Township 8 South, Range 6 West, also described as 332 Patton Drive, East Point, Franklin County, Florida. Request submitted by Susan Reeder, applicant.
Mr. Chairman, Amy, I have a question.
Okay?
Are we doing this because of the critical shoreline? Because of being away from the shoreline?
Yes, they did not go into the 50-foot critical habitat zone, so they went, they're requesting 10 additional feet into the front setback. They'll still have a 15-foot setback off of the property line abutting Patton Drive, and they're requesting side setbacks 5 foot on each side.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion on the floor by Commissioner Jones, second by Commissioner Massey. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That pass unanimous.
That was it. Now we're going to head to our planning and zoning consent agenda. This morning, we have a recommendation for approval. It was unanimous, contingent upon receiving the Corps of Engineers permit. They do have their DEP in court at this time. The consideration of a request to construct a single-family residential dock located at Lot 2, Block 65, St. George Island, Gulf Beaches, Unit 5, 735 Randolph Street, St. George Island, Franklin County, Florida. The proposed access walkway for this dock will be 2 foot by 6 foot with a 10 by 20 terminus and an 8 by 20 deck with a 2 foot by 20 foot kayak launch and a 12 by 22 covered boat lift. This request will be contingent upon receiving the Army Corps of Engineers permit. Request submitted by Larry Joe Colson, A1 Quality Docks and Boat Lifts, agent for Craig and Margaret Chingis, applicant. There is a proposed house on the property.
Pleasure to vote.
Amy, I want to ask a question.
Go ahead.
This is not going to interfere with anybody else's, because they're in the canal.
They are in a canal. As you can see, there was concern over this here. They did provide a professional riparian line survey, which means in the construction standards under C9, it states that if you do not meet the 25-foot riparian right line survey setbacks, then you have to provide a professional survey stating that you are not impeding in those riparian lines or crossing over. They have adjusted the, they're going to be 10 feet off of this riparian line and 46 feet off of the western riparian line. So
How far will it extend in the canal?
it does not extend over 25% of the canal's width.
That's why I was asking.
Yes.
Okay. All right, motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion on the floor by Commissioner Jones, second by Commissioner Massey. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That pass unanimous.
Okay, item number 2, we have a recommendation for approval. It's unanimous. Consideration of a request to construct a single-family private dock on Lot 14, Block A, Unit 1, Gulf Wind, also known as 2494 Highway 98 East, Lanark, Franklin County, Florida. The dock will be 206 foot long by 4 foot in width and have a 19 foot by 2 foot access walkway and two 20 foot by 2 foot access walkways. These access walkways will surround the boat lift area that's 12 foot by 20 foot uncovered boat lift. This request will be contingent upon receiving the DEP and Army Corps of Engineers permit. Request submitted by Garlic Environmental, agent for Paul Markson, applicant, and it has an existing house.
So move.
Second.
Got a motion on the floor by Commissioner Bowe, second by Commissioner Massey. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That pass unanimous.
Okay. The third item on the agenda is a rezoning application. This recommendation for approval of a public hearing was a 4-to-1 vote. It was a consideration of a request to rezone a 10.32 acre parcel of land lying in Section 18, Township 8 South, Range 5 West, also known as 1849 U.S. Highway 98, East Point, Franklin County, Florida, from R3 Single Family Estate Residential to R1 Single Family Residential. Request submitted by Robin and Suzanne Ackerman. What this will allow, right now it's zoned R3 Single Family Home Estate. It allows 1 unit per 5 acres, and they're requesting this to go 1 unit per acre. I've submitted our zoning map, and it shows that in this area, they've already had there's R1 adjacent to this property, Lot 1, and then here, and also towards the east. So that it has been rezoned in that area, so it's not spotty.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
Amy, this is also a request to take it to a public hearing, correct?
Yes.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion on the floor by Commissioner Jones, second by Commissioner Massey. All in favor? All opposed? That passed unanimous.
Okay, item number 4 is for sketch plat approval. Recommendation for approval, it was unanimous. Consideration of a request for sketch plat approval of a 1-unit subdivision formerly known as Lots 1 and 2 Chateau de la Grange, lying in Section 22, Township 9 South, Range 6 West, St. George Island, Franklin County, Florida. Request submitted by Barbara Sanders for agent for Corey and Deborah Reynolds Johnson. They're the applicants. They're taking 2 lots from Chateau de la Grange, and they want to make it a 1-unit subdivision, and it'll be a 2-acre lot at that time.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion on the floor by Commissioner Jones, second by Commissioner Massey. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That passed unanimous.
Okay, last item on the agenda, number 5, we have a recommendation for approval of a public hearing. It's a 4-to-1 vote. Consideration of a request for commercial site plan approval to locate 4 short-term transient cottages on property lying in Section 31, Township 8 South, Range 6 West, also known as 332 Patton Drive, East Point, Franklin County, Florida. Request submitted by Susan Reeder, applicant.
So moved to take it to a public hearing.
Second.
Oh, this doesn't have to go to a public
That's what
hearing.
it says. That's what you just read.
what it said.
I'm sorry. That doesn't have to go to a public hearing. This is for commercial site plan approval,
Okay,
and I
so
do apologize for that.
is that what did the P and Z board do? Were they,
It was a unanimous.
I know, but was it for a public hearing or?
No, it was for commercial site plan approval.
Okay.
Ready to the vote?
I wasn't trying to cut you off. Finish
No,
saying
you're
what you were
fine.
gonna say. Sorry.
I did look into information regarding to this project. I contacted our ISO insurance offices, insurance services offices. This should not affect our CRS ratings. However, they do have to abide by our floodplain our ordinance, and that requires them to have it moved off at least one time every 180 days. And we're looking into a planned development to make sure that all cottages that's located that has to be removed every 180 days, that we combine them all. We'll have a meeting, and then we'll set dates twice a year to make sure that these units are moved off, and they do abide by our ordinance.
That's good.
Okay.
Moving off is a rehearsal for in case it has to happen.
Yes, sir.
That
This will
proves
help
that
them.
Axles are in place and wheels are working and everything.
Yes. It'll ensure that they're tagged, road-ready, and their tires are not flat. Because
Yes.
when they sit for long periods of time,
Yeah.
you do need to rotate the tires to make sure that they are properly working. Because in the case of a storm event, and they're required, they don't have to wait for 6 tire changes
Yes.
or more to have them rolled out. So this will, ensure that they have proper mechanics so that they can move out in the event of a storm event.
Good.
And, Mr. Chairman, all these issues you're bringing up are questions that were expressed at the last
Yes.
time we talked about this project.
Yes, sir.
So with those questions being answered, motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion on the floor.
Comment.
I got a motion on the floor by Commissioner Jones, second by Commissioner Massey. Discussion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd mentioned to Amy that at one of these point in times where you're supposed to move these units every 180 days or every 6 months, that one of those times should be scheduled around the hurricane season, So if you have to move it because of a hurricane, then that counts for your one time, that 6 months of
Yeah.
having to move the trailer.
Right.
So you're accomplishing two goals at one time. So one of those times that you move the trailer should be within hurricane season. So if you have to move, there's your other time of moving during that 6 month period. I think that'd be beneficial
That's
for the
correct.
people in question here.
And, you know, even though you have 2 times a year, I'm sorry, I'm stuttering, 2 times a year that you do have to move these, that does not mean that you're not gonna have to move them 4 or 5 times a year.
Right, it'll help
So-
Howard.
You know, in the event of a storm, you have to, you know, hook them up and take them out, so,
But
you
that
know,
would count
unfortunately.
against that one time every 6
Yes,
months.
but to make sure that, you know, the county is properly organizing something that makes them, you know, set dates on a calendar to have them moved out. And this is not limited to just the readers. It's, we're gonna get in contact with all and to make sure that this runs smoothly.
And as long as, Mr. Chairman, one more thing, and as long as we're documenting that they've been moved, then we're complying with the IOS, which is what I was concerned about, because
Yes.
if we don't comply, insurance rates for everybody in the county goes up. So we want to make sure that we're in compliance with that.
And having these annual, biannual inspections, this could help our CRS ratings gather extra points. Because we are stepping out in a, 2 or 3 days, twice a year, to document these are being compliant.
And that's key, is documentation.
Documentation is everything.
Garrett's been doing his, he moves his.
He's moved it, I know, during the tropical storm
Yeah, that's what I say,
event.
he's moved them, make
Yeah.
sure, yeah,
But we're gonna, ensure that they're documented and at least twice a year,
Right.
everybody has to.
Okay.
Do we document that the vehicle that's moving these units is also in good serviceable condition to do so?
They're required to have a light-duty truck, a light-duty truck, any motor vehicle rated at 8,500 pounds gross vehicular weight rating or less, which has a vehicular curb weight of 6,000 pounds or less, and which has a basic vehicle frontal area of 45 square feet or less, and it describes those, the capacities. So whatever vehicle that they are using has to comply with light duty so that they have the actual power. I'm not a truck person, but have the proper RPMs or to be able to pull these things.
With those weights, you're talking about just a regular 1,500 truck.
Yes,
sure
like a
I'm
Ford
sure they gonna move
F-250
them,
or.
because they have everything up for them, they ain't gonna sit there and run, get it washed away.
Yes, because it'll be an
They have
investment
their
that
life
they keep
savings
paying
in it.
for.
They make sure they moved.
Y'all ready to vote?
Yep.
All in favor? All opposed? That pass unanimous.
Okay, thank you so much. That concludes my reports.
Go to work, Sturgeon.
Yeah. Good, Ms. Reader, way to go.
All right. Thank you, Miss Amy, and keep up the good work.
Do you want this? Do you want this?
Next on the agenda will be
Thank you.
Mr. Cole Tepe. Wayne Plant Operator.
Good morning, gentlemen. Nicole Cheppy. So on September 11th, the George E. Weems Memorial Hospital Board of Directors approved a recommended removal of obsolete and broken equipment from the hospital's asset management list. We're requesting final approval from the Board of County Commissioners to remove the identified obsolete and broken equipment. Additionally, we're seeking approval to donate selected items to a 501c3 pending Attorney Schuler's notification of final procedure.
So moved.
Got a motion on the floor by Commissioner Parrish, second by Commissioner Master. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That pass unanimous.
Thank you, gentlemen. As an update, Synergy and subcontractors are currently working on removing items from the roof. During last week, we proceeded to relocate staff and other items. Due to a delay of some trailers from Hurricane Dorian, we're expecting those trailers to come on the 18th, and we will continue the progress of the roof replacement. So, and lastly, the Weems Medical Center is, the ACU the repair work is ongoing, and the EMS station in Apalachicola, we're targeting to open at October 1st. Okay.
Go ahead.
I don't know if I need to ask you or David,
Sure.
but this weekend, did someone come out and clean the medical center in East?
Yes, sir.
Because I want somebody cleaning it up on regularly.
We're in the
Because
process of
I went out
hiring.
the other day and it's not good. And I don't think the girls, Dana and them, should have to clean that office.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct, Commissioner Massey.
Let me get your name.
David Walker, interim Weems Memorial Hospital Director. Yes, we went out Sunday to make sure the clinic was clean. We have identified a person right now who has expressed interest in taking the job to clean the clinic, and so we should be making contact with her today. She lives in the Carabel area, and so that should be taken care of, and hopefully, we'll have consistent, cleaning in that area. I believe all our facilities should be safe and clean,
I
so
appreciate
that's
it.
something that we'll definitely work on, but we took care of that right away.
Yeah, I appreciate, I just don't think the girls, after working there all day, should stay in clean 'cause they don't get paid for it.
But they should, well, if they stay clean, they should get paid for it, but we'll take care of that, though.
Okay. All right.
And that's been taken care of.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Richard
Got
Lewis.
anything for Ms. Tippin? Y'all got anything else? Well, we'll move over to Mr. Lewis, I know.
Yeah, okay.
No, I was giving y'all a chance, I thought, ask her, or talk to her if you needed to. All right, next on the agenda be Mr. Lewis, EMS Director.
Good morning, Richard Lewis, Weems EMS Director. I wanted to come and give you guys an update on our community outreach and education program that we started at the first of the year. I've been here for several years, and one thing I've noticed throughout the years is our first responders have been inconsistent in their training from district to district. So one of the things I wanted to do is offer the EMR, the Emergency Medical Responder Course, throughout the county to every volunteer and fire department. We started this at the first of the year. Our first class was in East Point, and we had over 40 members of various fire departments show up to it that we certified. Second class we done was in Appalachia because Appalachia wasn't able to come to the first one. And then we are starting this Thursday, we're starting a class in Alligator Point. That's going to include Alligator Point and Lanark people is going to be coming to it, as well as anybody else that it's offered to everybody. We plan on having that course finished the 1st of November. At that time, we would have trained the entire county of volunteer fire departments on the same standard of care. The benefit of this is we will, no matter if you live in Appalachia, Carabel, Lanark, or Alligator Point, you'll get the same standard of care from your first responders, which is really good. And I'm wanting to do a monthly training with the first responders to kind of build on this foundation, because the class we're doing is a really basic class, and if we can start building on the foundation with a more advanced classes, that we can have a a better standard of care throughout the whole community. In addition to that, we are looking at becoming a American Heart Association training site. I'm working with Southeastern School of Health in Tallahassee. They are going to support us and for us to be a training site under them. When we have this certification, we will be able to give CPR classes and advanced classes throughout the community. That's including high school and just your everyday person, as well as recertification for our healthcare providers. I'm also wanting to start a community education program that will consist of us doing monthly training, and we're going to alternate districts. So one month be in Apalachicola, the next in St. George, and so on. And the classes will focus on different diseases, common diseases throughout our community. Example would be diabetes. And what we want to do is kind of educate the general public of, what they actually are, what they're going through, and if there's any resources that they need that they can't get, because a lot of these diseases, there's programs to help you get medications and just help you deal with it that a lot of people is unaware of. So I want to get throughout the community and really try to help these people. So
That's good. That's a good thing.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Mr. Lewis, the first certification you mentioned that's currently been ongoing in the county,
yes, sir.
is it a yearly certification, or is it good
It's-
for 3 years or 5 years, or?
So that certification is not, there's not a state mandate on it.
Right.
What I'm trying to get, I'm getting with the fire chiefs, we're trying to do it a yearly, so that way we
Okay.
can keep everybody updated, but it's not something that has to be recertified.
Right. Okay, but it would be a yearly going forward, that's what I'm asking.
Yes, sir, that's what my goal is.
Okay. Good.
What all you do in that training? I mean, what all you offer?
During that training, we try to do our EVOC training, which is emergency vehicle operation. It's necessary to drive the fire trucks, ambulance, and cop cars, as well as a CPR for healthcare providers. It's a higher level than your basic CPR training. And then it's a basic first aid medical course. That's a 40-hour course that follows DOT guidelines.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah, and these, Mr. Chairman, these are all components of the comprehensive care that you're talking about from east to west in our entire county. Is that
Yes, sir.
correct? Good. Good. That's a good thing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work.
Yeah, thank you, Louis. Appreciate you.
Next on the agenda will be Ms. Deborah Belcher.
Deborah.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. So I have a status report, which I believe you have in your agenda packets. And I reported that we have 5 completed mobile home replacements. When I say complete, let me put the caveat that, skirting wasn't on, things like that, but they're there. We have certificates of occupancy. And going back through the minutes of a previous meeting, I discovered that when we talked about Colby and Shelby Nowling's project to place a modular home at 275 Smith Street, we had been talking about using SHIP funds as a part of that contribution, but we ended up not having to use SHIP funds. So the minutes did not state that the board actually voted to use CDBG funds. So we just need a motion to confirm that we can use the CDBG funds. And
Motion to approve.
And actually, Commissioners, that'll be item 5 on my report too. We're covering the same thing, I do believe. So,
She wanted to use both of them.
yeah, so basically we addressed SHIP funds, like she's saying, with the prior motion, we did not address CDBG funds. We just need to address the CDBG funds, that's all.
All right. I got a motion on the floor by Commissioner Jones, second by Commissioner Massey. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The passing item.
okay. The East Point, we've mentioned that this project is not going as well as I'd like for it to in terms of getting everybody assisted. So there's a couple of policy things we can talk about to help that, I believe. For those situations where someone has, say, for example, an agreement for deed, or they have a situation where there's a divorce, but they didn't split the ownership of the land and the property. I would like for you to consider the option of doing what would be called a chattel mortgage, which would be, we would put a mortgage on the mobile home, but not on the land. And the whole purpose of doing the mortgage to begin with really is just to prevent profiteering. You're not really expecting the money to be paid back. You're hoping it isn't even needed to be paid back, that people just continue to live in this for 10 years and it's free and clear anyway. And this is entirely the county's option as to the whole mortgage process. The DEO does not, and HUD, and neither DEO nor HUD dictates to you how you have to do your mortgage. So what this would do is for those people that, you could do it on a case-by-case basis and say, they're not on the verge of being kicked off the land or anything of that nature. For example, if they're buying the land or not in a precarious position. But it would allow you to provide the assistance to the household that needs it. And forget about who owned the actual land, or if it's land that's a husband and wife together, or ex-spouse, I should say. So I wanted you to give me your yay or nay, or let's talk about it, about this idea.
Lord.
I don't know. I got one question. If you set a home up on a piece of property that somebody does not own,
Mm-hmm.
and Lord forbid you have a foreclosure,
Mm-hmm.
how do you get access to that trailer when it's actually sitting on somebody else's property and they don't allow you access to their property to get to the trailer? How does all that work?
Well,
That was kind of the
yeah,
whole point of
yeah.
you had to own a piece of property, so that
Mm-hmm.
you're dealing with one person instead of two different entities. One owns the trailer and one owns the property, and the guy on the property don't want you to have access to that trailer, should you have to repossess it or whatever. How does that work?
I don't know that, for example, if there's a partial ownership, a husband and wife together, or, ex-husband and wife
Right,
together,
right.
then there would be some ownership in that state. Mr. Schuler could answer the issue.
Mr. Lockley was just looking for Mr. Schuler, didn't he?
Yeah.
I didn't see him sitting over there either.
I did, I was pointing like
He
that.
said, "Where's the attorney?" I said, "I don't know."
He's over taking a nap.
And I did give Mr.
Do I
Schuler
look
some
like I work
advance
for the
notice on this.
He said he knows, so let's see what.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a.
It's a separate lawsuit. If you have a piece of property on someone else's property, which in this case would be the mobile home sitting on a third party's property, and we have to go get the mobile home for some reason, then it would entail a separate lawsuit to go in and essentially get the judge to order that person if it is required to go to that extent to get your property. But, so there is a legal remedy.
Okay.
It's just time consuming. I mean, I went through one of these lawsuits, or similar lawsuit, myself this year, and it basically took about 7 months. So it takes a while to get it done,
It seems
but
like
there is
the
a
further
remedy.
seems like the further down the road we go, the more stipulations we having to make. So I don't even know where we at today, because we're having to make so many stipulations from day one when we started to where we're at now. There's about every meeting there's another stipulation. You understand what I'm saying? So everything's not straight
I do.
ahead. There's a lot of exceptions and waivers, and I mean, there's all kinds of stuff going on out there. So I really don't know where we at.
Commissioner, I would recommend that we table this and let me have a further conversation with Ms. Belcher. She did notify me by email late last week this issue was coming up, and it's not that a chattel mortgage is illegal, it's just atypical, as I told her in the email. And my question to her was, is this actually a mortgage to be repaid, or is it a forgiveness loan? I mean, that certainly plays, factors into the decision-making as to whether it's a forgiveness loan or an actual repayment obligation. But you do have to look at this on a case-by-case basis, and I would like the opportunity to sit down and talk to Ms. Belcher about what the facts are specifically for the chattel mortgages that she may want you to consider. But I would like an opportunity to look at those facts with her in more detail. Because it may be that we can still get a lien on the property. I just don't know what facts that she's looking at that's led her to conclude that you can't.
No.
So I'd like to lay eyes on that problem and come up with my own opinion.
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that's what she's kind of asking for, to know if we're going to be good with waiving the standard operating procedure we've been proceeding with, to actually start looking at some of these as case by case. But I would still be more in favor of us taking care of everybody we can take care of, and then get down in the weeds per se and try to finish it off. You know
Well,
what I
I
mean?
think we're getting down into the weeds now,
Okay.
and that's why I'm bringing this to you, because we need to, either we are or we're not considering any waivers of the policy. Right now, the policy really is for your normal housing rehab program. This money, we have to sort of straddle the fence between the normal situation and how are we going to help people who are living in campers or living somewhere else or whatever because they were burned out or their home is badly damaged. So it is not, it's normal rules for an abnormal situation. So I'm trying to bring you some suggestions for how to best meet the needs. We have the money to help people. I'd like to go ahead and use it and move on. And so that's one issue that we have, is the ownership of the land. And again, because this is purely a local decision, you can do this if you choose to. You don't have to have a mortgage at all. I mean, most counties do. Most counties and cities do, because it's generally viewed as prudent to put some kind of a string on this, because otherwise, people could just be selling and dealing and things like that. So that was decades ago when these programs first got started. That's what was developed to be the normal approach. And that's what you have right now, is the normal approach. But again, we have abnormal circumstances.
I would say too, Ms. Belcher, at some point in the past, we actually had a list of people were looking at helping, where they were at, kind of. So as we've gotten people helped, I think it would help this board to have an updated list of these are who we're looking to help, and these are the actions we're trying to recommend on the case by case.
Okay.
So we kind of know, because I think that's somewhat Commissioner Parrish is saying, we don't know who still needs to be helped, who hasn't been helped, you know what I mean? So I think that would be helpful to us as a board.
Yeah,
To be able to look at those case by case.
And at this point, we're not turning down anybody who fits the norm in order to do this.
Right. I didn't think we were.
That would need to be a comprehensive list.
Yes.
Not just you, but what community action's done,
Yes.
so that
Yeah,
we have
we
a
need to
full
know that-
understanding.
At the end of the day, yes, Michael, at the end of the day, this board, after the fire happened, and I've explained this several times to different people that have asked me, this board did what we could in pursuing the grant. The administration of the grant falls to you as far as carrying it out. There's enough money there to help everybody, and I think it was the intent of this board to make sure that everybody did get help. But we also must make sure in the end of it that we're not having advantageous, where one family is now getting 2 or 3 trailers. Through no further on, and I'm not saying people would do this, but we have to know what's going on.
Sure.
I know my wife and I have talked before, and it's completely off, and that's why I feel fine using it. People have moved back to Puerto Rico, where she's from, and been separate from their spouse so they could get more benefits because of Maria and all the different things going on. That they're not separated, but they've approached it that way. And I'm not saying this other couple you mentioned has done that, but as a board, it still falls to us to know that we're doing everything correct. We're doing everything to try to help the people that survived, and we've done the job to the best we can do it at the end of the day when this is all wrapped up.
Okay. Well, at this point, we're going to be turning back a whole lot of money. So
Well,
I got an issue.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, Mr. Creamer, Devin.
I'm sorry?
Young fella, Creamer, did he get help? Devin?
that one, I have left messages. The taxes for last year were not paid. As far as I know, the excess junk and debris in the yard is still not done, and they still haven't verified their income with me. And so, ball's in their court at this stage.
Well, didn't they clean up, didn't the people clean
Some.
up? Some.
Some of them didn't allow them to because the attorneys told them not to.
That was one on the corner.
Yeah.
This was on Wilderness.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
turn the corner down there, one of them, Ridge Road.
It's not in the corner, but okay.
It's kind of on that curve thing.
Yeah, this is one where, see, when we do the environmental review on each one of these, we have to take photos of the site. And there is an administrative rule with this program that says that we have to make sure that the property is being maintained, like you're not a bunch of junk cars and, weeds up to here and that kind of thing. Well, when I take pictures and I show what was in that property, I know what would happen with the environmental review. It would go south. And so and I knew, and this has been going on for 6 months or so, so it's not like hurry up and get it done tomorrow.
So you're saying,
No, he come to me and say he was having a hard time getting help. So I don't know how it looks. I'm just going by what he said.
Well, some of it would be better not to talk about in the public meeting, but the
Okay.
county has provided some assistance for that debris removal. And I'm not talking about storm debris. That's not it. We're talking about junkyard stuff. So,
And, Mr. Chairman, to be fair, these 5 on this list today are the first 5 we've helped, correct?
yes.
So it's just been a long process.
so,
You know what I mean?
Mr. Chairman, so we've helped these 5 people, and now you're telling me that we're down in the weeds?
Yes.
So we're not gonna make it, so not many more people gonna qualify to be helped?
There, some people who I have talked to said, we're not interested. You gonna put any kind of lien on our property? No,
They don't
thanks.
want no help.
Right. I'm serious.
And
I
then other people
mean,
won't clean up their property, so they can't get no help.
and then there are some people who are not income eligible. And then there are some people who don't have title to the property, which that's one of those things I'm trying to help remedy right here when this, in this discussion.
Yep.
There are a few right there that could be. And then the number 4 is the other group of people.
I thought there were like 30,
Yeah.
36 people or something that got burned out.
I don't think
30
there were
something?
that many that were completely burned, but yeah, there were, some of them, I think, were duplicates on
I
the
got
single
it.
On the
property.
list, yeah.
I got it.
And some have been helped by Capital Area Action Agency
Yeah.
also. So, yeah, I think that's what, again, we need an updated list so we know what's going on.
Yeah, because we don't know.
Yeah,
I wanna make sure all them people get help if they eligible.
Right.
You know.
Well, what she's saying, though, for a number of different reasons, they're not eligible, whether it's environmental review or income. Now, when you say not income eligible, what are you talking about? They make too much money?
yes, the same income limit applies regardless, and it's the same as the SHIP 80% amount.
Okay.
And Franklin County has one of the lower income limits, unfortunately. It's based on area medians and that type of thing, and HUD sets the limit.
Okay.
But you know,
I mean, I know you got a job to do, and you do what you gotta do according to the rules. I understand.
I
mean,
don't like that rule, 'cause them people had their house before that,
I know.
and they can't get a house now, 'cause they make a little bit, they were making the same money they made when they got burnt out, which was not their fault.
I know, and
That's
that's the
wrong.
thing, that's what I'm telling you, that this grant is designed for your normal housing rehab program. The state just put extra money into this grant so you could use it to help those who are eligible. It's not a disaster recovery grant.
That's about like every grant. If you work, you can't get nothing.
That's the case in a lot of situations.
But they worked and had what they had, I don't care, and they paid, it belonged it to them, and through no fault of their own.
Yeah.
They didn't track that match.
That's what,
Thank
that's
you.
what a lot of lawsuits are gonna be about,
Yeah.
is damages, and it's not against the county. It's, the county's not, I don't think there's any liability with the county. The county is just attempting to help those that can be helped through the funds that you got.
And the rest of them got to just sleep out those. That what you tell them?
So what I'm trying to do is find a way for you to help everybody who's income eligible who wants the help.
I
By
would
these,
like to help everybody who got money out for no fault of their own, man. I mean, I don't believe in it, that people had the
yeah.
income when they got that, when they went in there and them folks went over there and burnt that place up, they had the same income then they got now. And they didn't track a match.
no,
They
I
can't get no
understand.
help.
I
That's
understand.
not right.
I understand, and again, this grant was intended to be part of the solution So for those that qualify, it'll be great. Those who don't
Well, look
qualify,
like it should be something else for the one, them what?
Well, it will when they get their lawsuit money.
yeah,
But
that's what
let
I'm
me ask
saying.
you a
It'll be
question.
lawsuits for
Let me
those.
change the subject just a little bit. These homes that you're talking about disposing of because they don't like the trailer that they got.
Item number 4, right?
Yeah, well, what about these people that don't meet these income requirements? Can't they get one of these trailers?
Well, if that's what you want to do. And that, see, that's,
Why is it up to me? I mean,
well, okay, that's,
reading
okay.
this says you have to have you have to be, or you should be a person that's been burned out. You should have a piece of property to put it on, and you're responsible for paying to move that trailer. Or if
That's one of my
If they don't meet the
suggestions.
income limits, then they should have some money. Why can't they get one of these trailers and put it on their property where they got someplace to live till they get the lawsuit money?
Well, that is my item number 4, is to discuss
Oh, we
that
haven't
as an
got there yet?
option. Well, well,
Not yet.
we're merging into it, apparently. Okay, so what
Before we
my
go there,
direction
can I ask
from the
another
board
question?
was to discuss this a little more about the chattel mortgages.
Yep.
And again, like I'm saying, I'm trying to find you ways to help everybody who's income eligible. The chattel mortgages will solve some of the problems. And I'm really not worried about security on these things, because the whole purpose is to get them into a place to live.
Right.
And you're not, if you got a dime back, you'd have to send it back to the state anyway.
Right.
So, and I just don't see people profiteering off of these homes because they have nowhere else to go. So that's not, and it's not like you're giving them a piece of land and things that are going to appreciate in value. These mobile homes will not appreciate in value. So I just don't see the security of the loan being a big deal. That's my professional opinion to you. That's why I'm suggesting the chattel mortgages for, like I said, in case-by-case basis where we don't see, oh my gosh, they're behind in their payment on the agreement or whatever. We don't see a big risk. Okay, let's just go ahead and do this thing, give them
Because
the
they ain't no
assistance.
payment.
I'm sorry?
They ain't gonna get behind on the payment because they ain't no payment.
No, I'm talking about somebody who's buying their land, for example, and
okay.
has an agreement for deed but not a deed.
Well, the attorney suggested that we let him review this before we
Yes.
vote on this.
Right.
I'm gonna make a motion that the attorney review this, however you pronounce it, mortgage, and come back to us at the next meeting with a recommendation. So that we're not stalling this, but we need to know, we need to let the attorney review it, and that's gonna be my motion.
I got a
Second.
motion on the floor by Commissioner Parrish, second by Commissioner Master and Jones. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? By pass unanimous.
So we'll have an answer at the next meeting for you on that.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, before we go on to number 4, I want to ask a question. You stated, and I don't know why I didn't notice this before, but I just want to ask for the public's sake. You stated that the CDBG grant that the county applied for is based on the median income of Franklin County. Is that correct?
Okay.
The economic qualifier.
The income limit that is established for Franklin County by U.S. HUD is based on some statistics that they use and adjust every year
Right.
that are supposedly like the median.
Right.
And then there are some formulas that they use to make adjustments, like if the median is, a certain percent below the state median or whatever. I don't know, but that's HUD's formula.
Okay.
And some counties, the limit is higher than others.
Yeah, well, I know, the reason I'm asking is because I know when I was running for this seat in 2016, there was a national survey that came out. Franklin County was number 6 nationally in economic disparity. Our top 1% makes 1.7 million a year. The other 99 averages 25,000. So since this is what I'm going to ask. Since this was done by this commission to try to get help for all these survivors, is it something that if we do by motion and send a letter, can we ask them to take the income limit off of it? They agreed to give us the additional funds for the survivors, so can we ask them to remove the income limit off of it?
Well, the DEO, Florida Department of Economic Opportunity is the one that made the award.
Right.
They get this money, it's a federal block grant that goes to the state. And then the state allocates it to the local governments.
Right.
The state is under the requirement, you'd have to go up to Congress for them to waive.
Well, somehow we got the money.
Well,
That's
yeah, but
my
it was the
question.
state's discretion as to how to allocate that.
Okay.
And they actually had to go through a whole legal process
Okay.
just to waive the limit on how much Franklin County, and that's why, one of the reasons we didn't get the money until like late October, something like that. So they had to go through a long process to be able to allow the county to use funds with the strings attached. So asking DEO would be,
The only reason I bring that up is because you mentioned when you were talking a while ago in all of our discussions that we're looking at turning a bunch of the money back.
yeah,
So that's the only reason I bring it up.
right, yeah. So that is, that's set by HUD, and they have their regulations in place on how they calculate all that.
But if you look at the income and look at the people, they ain't too much over.
Most people are not, who
They're
are
not
not
much.
eligible. There's a few who are not, I mean, and you wouldn't know to look at it, but,
No, just about anybody that's got a two-income household is going to be ineligible.
Yeah, it got to be two income to make them ineligible.
Yep.
yeah.
Don't have to, you can't eat.
There you go.
Then if you got one, it'll throw you over, but
Anyway, I wasn't trying to delay us. I
Not-
just
not
wanted to
too-
ask the question.
not too much over. But they wrong. They wrong. 'Cause they burnt them people's houses. The state done that. So they said.
Are you ready to talk about item 4?
Yes, ma'am.
Man,
Okay, so the mobile homes that have been donated through the sheriff's GoFundMe and at least one church, possibly more, but I know for sure one. The people who are in them are dissatisfied with them, both because of the design and because of some of them say they're experiencing mold and various things, and I think sometimes that's because of too much humidity within the owner's control, but there are some other, issues. So, what I would like to propose to you is that, in continuation of what you said months ago about that people who got those would not be ineligible, but they go to the bottom of the list. I believe that was what the board voted. So we're to that point now where I would like to go ahead and start moving on people who want to have those replaced. We'll consider them temporary housing. However, you've got these homes, so I can't in good conscience recommend that, we just demolish them or haul them to the landfill. So they should be, in other words, they should be put to good use. Like you're saying, give them to someone who needs them. So I laid out some options for you here. That being one of them, housing for people who are not eligible for the CDBG grant, if they want to, if they've got some money and they can set them up and do remodeling or whatever they want to with them. That's one option for you to think about. Another would be is if you wanted to go for some other, like community organizations or, county use or whatever. But I think we need to put them in good use. Now, the CDBG grant, I believe, can pay to have them hauled off for a reasonable price, because normally if we had a substandard home that we were going to replace, we would pay demolition costs. So this would sort of be like, moving them off would be sort of like in lieu of demolition. But setting them up on somebody else's property, that's not part of this grant. So before we can assist people, the board needs to take some kind of position on what do we do with the existing mobile homes that have been donated.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
now, getting back to what I was saying a while ago, you got people that they're not income eligible for these CDBG grant money, but it still got burned out.
Right.
Why can't they have these trailers?
Well, that's one option I'm saying.
And if they
we
don't
should-
have the money to move them, then we need to get with
Capital area.
community action and have them move these trailers over there for these people until they get their lawsuit money so they can buy themselves a new home that was destroyed by the fire.
That
I
is,
don't see giving them to these worthy causes and all that until we exhaust all avenues of helping some of these people that don't meet the income or other requirements of the CDBG grant money.
well, that is my first suggestion to you. I am recommending that.
I'm gonna make a motion, that's what we do.
Okay.
And when you exhaust all of that, if you got a trailer that you can't get rid of or nobody wants, or then we'll come back and address that. But these trailers were bought with money donated to the sheriff's office to help the people that were burned out of their homes. And I think these homes should continue to be used in that fashion right there on Ridge and Wilderness until these people can get their money and do better than what they're doing right now, because right now they're just left out in the cold. I don't know how the rest of the board feels about that. That's the way I feel about it. And I'm gonna make a motion to do that, and if I get a second, I do. If I don't, I don't.
You got a second, but I got discussion on
Got a
something.
motion on the floor by Commissioner Parrish, second by Commissioner Jones. Any more?
I got the discussion item, sir. The only thing I'll say is if there is any black mold found in one of these, I don't think anybody needs it.
Right, and I don't know that
Period.
that's, I don't think
I'm
that's
just
the
saying,
case,
yes.
but yes, I understand what you're
But
saying.
the sheriff told me these are brand-new homes when he bought them.
They,
And they ain't been there but a year. They shouldn't be full of black mold and
I
all
don't
these other
think- I
problems.
don't think they
They might
have.
be, but they shouldn't be.
yeah, I don't think they have that, but,
2014.
yeah, they were not, apparently not new. So,
Oh, they were used? Okay, well, that's what I was told.
If I may, Commissioner, one question, in reading Deborah's option, my question is going to be, who is going to manage this situation? Will Deborah Wheeler, CDBG? Or, because you refer to the board and the county a lot, so who is in charge of making sure that the whole, it goes from A to B?
well, I think what we need to do is, for each person who wants a replacement of what we'll call their temporary housing, we need, if they have someone in mind, that they want us to consider, that
Within
would-
that community you're talking about?
yes, or that's fine.
I wanna help the people in that community
That's
that
what I
were
mean,
burned out,
who
as the
needs,
chairman
who've
keeps
been
saying.
burned out, that's what I mean. If they have someone in mind, now, somebody who, let's say, for example, had an RV on the parent's property, that might be, I don't know, one of those situations, but they would have to, I'd have to be, before I could come back to you and recommend approval, I would say, well, where are you gonna put it? Show me the cash that you have, or who's gonna donate money to make sure it gets set up properly? Because we do not need to be in the business of moving a mobile home somewhere and it sits there. You know,
I agree.
So
So I am hearing that you're going to handle that and then bring back to the county commission for approval.
that would be my recommendation.
Yeah, because she has all the names and the people that don't meet the income requirements. We don't have all that. She has all that.
Yeah. So as far as do you want to give the current owners first crack at a request of who they want it to go to or not?
No, you have the list of people that don't meet these requirements.
Okay.
These are the people that are left
You need to
out until
reach
they.
out
Well,
to
I
them,
know,
yeah.
I
You need to
know,
reach
but I
out
mean,
to
if
the
there's
people
more than
that-
one, okay.
Reach out to the people that don't meet the eligibility requirements for this CDBG,
Okay.
because they make too much money or vice, whatever, and they're gonna have to wait 3 or 4 years to get their lawsuit money. They need a place to live in the meantime.
Okay.
These trailers should be transferred over to them until that point, if they're livable. And they, I don't know the situation, because I ain't been in none of the trailers.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to help the people out there that's being left out,
All right.
but they're
Okay.
within that community.
All right, so I'll just sort of wing it for now and see what we have in
Yeah.
terms of interested people who would fit that general criteria, and then I'll come back with
There
you.
are 8 of these trailers?
I don't know if 8's the number or not. I wouldn't want to say.
7 or 8, somewhere
Yeah,
right in there.
yeah.
And all these people want new replacement homes.
Well, the ones that I know of are saying yes. Mhm. And there's,
The ones you know
and
of?
there's some
You should know of all of
backstory.
them.
There's some backstories on some of them,
Okay,
so.
okay, we ain't get into
yeah.
all that. But you understand what I'm trying?
Yes, sir.
And I think Commissioner Lockley's on board with that. It sounds like Commissioner Jones and the rest of the committee, the rest of the commission, that we want to help these people, and some of them don't meet the requirement. Let's see if we can get them in some of these other homes until they can do better or get their settlement monies or whatever.
Right.
We all want to try to keep helping these people, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, wasn't their fault.
I made a motion, he made a second, so.
Y'all ready to vote?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That passes unanimous.
Okay, and one other one is, we have I just wanted to bring it to you because she doesn't fit the mold, item number 5. You can read the specifics there, but like approval to approve Arlene King's application for assistance, subject to her getting a suitable site for the home because she's in a divorce situation. The ex-husband owns the property, and she would have to provide a place for the home.
Is this all documented?
Yes.
I mean, you have verification of all
Of
the
the
stuff
divorce
that's in there?
and the, yeah.
Well, in a case like that, what, you had to get both of them one?
No, this would be a situation where the husband was not living there at the time of the fire, had not lived there for some time. She was living there, so we would be considering her the displaced household. He still keeps the land, and she would have to find another site.
Motion to approve.
I got a motion on the floor by Commissioner Jones,
Second.
second by Commissioner Master. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That passes unanimous.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Good, thank you.
Okay, we're gonna, Marcia got one thing.
Yeah, Marcia has one thing, and then we could break for lunch. if The board doesn't mind.
Next on the agenda will be Miss Marcia Johnson.
Actually, Mr. Chairman, mine is just for information item.
Okay.
Something I need that my office, we have to advertise for unclaimed monies, checks that aren't cashed every year. And we did that, and it needs to go on the record of the county that I did that. So it's just for information.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
1:15, Mr. Chairman, or 1:30?
What y'all say?
1/3.
1:30.
1:30.
1:30.
Okay, see you back.
We're gonna do it all.